Leading councillors in Birmingham want West Midlands Police to reconsider allowing an English Defence League demonstration to go ahead next weekend. Members of the Conservative Lib Dem coalition and the Labour opposition group have signed the letter. The Unite Against Fascism group have said it will launch a counter-demonstration if the EDL protest goes ahead. The last time the two groups met in the city, in September 2009, fighting erupted. Tommy Robinson is from the English Defence League. He joins me now. Good morning to you, Tommy.
Good morning.
Why are you coming to Birmingham?
Why are we coming to Birmingham? To highlight a lot of local issues. One main thing as well, the cameras that were put up in the Alum Rock area, the police felt the need to put them up in order to monitor extremist activity. As we've seen time and time again, we've got the Brummy Taliban, we've got Taliban fighters being found with Aston Villa tattoos. Obviously there's a problem within the local Islamic community there, a lot of them being arrested for extremist activity, for terrorism. If the police felt the need to install cameras to monitor them, that's for our safety, for the rest of Birmingham's safety, for the rest of England's safety. And then local Islamic politicians
Tommy,
come
can
out
I just
and kick
pick up
off
on a couple of things that you said there? I mean, I'm not aware of any proven cases. I've seen rumours and speculation of any Taliban fighters being found with Aston Villa tattoos. I'm not aware of any hard evidence that that's the case.
Well, that's a proven fact. It was in every single national newspaper. You've also got...
was it? I remember the Sun carried a report in which they claimed that British Secret Services claimed to have heard people with, as I remember, West Bromwich accents, but there was no evidence for that. It was just rumour and innuendo, as far as
that's what I was going. No, that's what I was going to go on to next. That was rumoured that intelligence said that they've heard Brummy accents across the airwaves, but the Aston Villa tattoo was that was a separate case where they found Aston Villa tattoo. You've got originally the Tipton Taliban, 3 that were arrested fighting for the Taliban. You've got countless
three people who were arrested, Tommy, but never convicted of any offence. They were kept in Guantanamo Bay, as were a number of other people, some of whom may have been guilty of offences, some of whom were not. And the Tipton Taliban, as you described them, 3 men from the West Midlands, were not found guilty of any offence.
They were held for 6 years in Guantanamo Bay, weren't they?
Yeah.
They were held for 6 years.
They weren't convicted of any offence.
They weren't convicted, but they were held for 6 years in Guantanamo Bay. Are we going to pretend that there's not an extremist element within the Birmingham community? You haven't got Hizb ut-Tahrir running wild across there. You haven't got any extremists. We see it time and time again. They're operating within Birmingham's. Every time there's an undercover mosque programme on Green Lane Mosque, there was extremist activity. When we saw the undercover madrasa programme, and what was the reaction from the local Muslim politicians when that madrasa programme showed hatred being promoted against us? They come out and blame the English Defence League and said all you're doing here is fuelling the fans of the English Defence League. We don't make them beat their kids in madrasa schools. We don't make them teach hatred in the madrasa schools. And as soon as we react to it, because what you're seeing is quite shocking going on and being taught in these madrasa schools, it's anti-democratic, it's homophobic, as I said again, it's anti-Semitic, and someone's got to highlight these issues. And we are inundated. We have been begged for 2 years.
In fairness, Tommy, I mean, Radio 4's File on 4 programme highlighted the programme of a small number of cases of alleged abuse in madrasas. So I mean, it doesn't necessarily need the English Defence League to do it. The BBC did it only last week on the airwaves of national radio. So what difference do you think you will make by coming to Birmingham to the issues that you believe passionately in?
I think we'll show local politicians that there's a strong opposition to it. I think we need to show that there's a strong feeling. At the minute, all they do is pander to the bloc Muslim vote every time. That's all we're seeing. They don't address our issues in our communities. They just address theirs. When you hear Islamic leaders like that MP on the other day, he's solely, in our opinion, working for the Islamic community. And they need to realise that there's 2 communities in Birmingham, or more than one community, and all we ever hear about is the Islamic community. They're pandered to, they're favoured, and it's got to stop. They can't have a 2-tier policing system, a 2-tier funding system.
Tommy, can I just ask you, your protest, is it against the Muslim community or is it against extreme Islam? Explain the difference, if you would.
Well, the difference, Muslims are the first victims of extreme Islam. I know there's great Muslims. We have no problem with Muslims. We have a problem with certain parts of their ideology, and that's our right to question their ideology in certain parts of it. Questions the things that their prophet done. He participated in murder, etc. He had sexual intercourse with a 9-year-old girl. These are things that need highlighting, and we're within our rights to highlight them and question certain aspects of their teachings of their ideology. If they're fascist, which Islam is a fascist ideology masquerading as a a religion, and it's our right to highlight it, and that's all we're doing.
There are many Muslims, of course, as you know, Tommy, who would vehemently disagree with that and say that Islam is a religion of peace, and say that you're selectively highlighting parts of the Quran to misrepresent the religion in order let me finish my point.
Okay.
In order to stir up hatred against Muslims in general.
Okay, well, 18,000 terrorist attacks since September 11th, which beg to differ whether it's a religion of peace or not. But if you, and I'm not highlighting parts of the Quran, I'm highlighting parts of their prophet's life and what their prophet's teaching's done. He participated in rape, he murdered 600 Jews on one day, and he also had sexual intercourse with a 9-year-old girl, Aisha, when he married her at 6. So that's a fact. You can get an imam and ask him yourself. That's the life of Muhammad. And to me, that's not a prophet of God, and the teachings are violent and extremist. So we're within our rights to highlight them, and we're coming to Birmingham. We've been inundated and begged for 2 years by local Brummies, constantly asking us to come over different issues. You had the 2 Muslim councillors who refused to stand up and give a standing ovation, completely disrespect to injured war soldiers that come back to a welcoming. We've been inundated constantly over things where people want us to come and highlight things for 2 years. We've put it off, and at the end of the day, we're an organisation that has to please its followers, and our followers want us to come to Birmingham. We've got massive support across the Midlands. We're an organisation who promotes integration, black and white, but I'm sorry, the Islamic community are not integrating, and if we just want to bury our heads in the sand and pretend at some point they're going to, they're not.
All right, Tommy, thank you for joining us on BBC WM this morning. If you are Muslim, by the way, and you've heard what Tommy has had to say, you, I suspect, will be rather better versed in the Quran and the life of the Prophet Muhammad than I am. Is Tommy telling the truth? Is he making sense? Or is he grossly misrepresenting your religion? If you're a Muslim, let us know what you think of what Tommy has had to say. 08453 00 9956. And if you support Tommy as well, be interesting to hear your point of view. I want to get a word now with Wayman Bennett from Unite Against Fascism. Wayman, good morning to you.
Hi.
Go on, sorry.
You've got a man so dishonest he won't even use his real name. His real name is Stephen Yoxley. He's an ex-BNP member. He's a convicted violent racist thug. Of the 71 demonstrations that the EDL have organised, including the 3 that have taken place inside Birmingham, the police last time reported that they broke out of a pub and went on the rampage and tried to attack people. We have a racist violent organisation that had links with Breivik, a arrested terrorist who killed children inside Norway.
Well, when you say Wayman, when you say the EDL had links, I mean Breivik may well have communicated with and sent emails to and even had knowledge of the EDL. I think it would be grossly unfair to the EDL to suggest that they in any way had anything to do with the atrocity that Breivik carried out, or that they in any way supported it as an organisation, because they have specifically said that that is not the case and have distanced themselves from it.
Clearly, the links that were on his Facebook between himself and other members, including his dossier, showed clear links between people using an ideology of saying that they opposed Islam in order to push racist and, I believe, fascist views. And I believe this is the day of modern... In the 1930s, fascists used anti-Semitism. Today, the modern fascist uses Islamophobia or racism against Muslims. In fact, in Birmingham, all the faith leaders have gathered together to say that we'll all join together to say that we respect each other in Birmingham, and that we don't believe that there should be organised attacks on Muslims or people with...
But the EDL aren't physically attacking Muslims or people with colour. They're expressing their disapproval of Islam as a religion and the extremist forms of it. In a free democratic society, don't they have the right to do that?
3 weeks ago, 4 EDL members were convicted for a vicious racist attack in Redbridge Mosque, in which the judge, I quote, said that this was there was no reason for this attack, and therefore sentenced them there for 4 years. They beat up an elderly Islam, burst into a place of worship.
But Wayman, that is not the view or the standpoint of the EDL as an organisation. You will know that members of the Unite Against Fascism, your organisation, have also been convicted, and you make it part of your business as an organisation to shadow the EDL. Doesn't your presence at EDL demos create the violence?
We don't attack places of worship. We believe in a society in which people can worship wherever, which means they like. I believe they're trying to attack people inside Birmingham. Part of the citizens of Birmingham are united in a certain way in order to carry out racist, nefarious activities. And I believe that somebody who can't even use their own name, is an ex-member of the BNP, has a pedigree in terms of pushing an ideology of racism. And I think the whole position is a fig leaf in front of an organisation that has, in its 71 demonstrations, organised attacks on Muslims. In fact, in Dudley, they attacked a Hindu temple.
Well, again, Wayman, you're making you're failing to make the distinction between people who were around Dudley at the time of an EDL demo and the EDL itself, which as an organisation distance itself from those attacks. Thank you. That's Wayman Bennett from UAF.